to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. It's good to see everybody out tonight. Thank you for coming. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from September 13th, 2022. Were there any corrections, changes, comments? No? If not, we'll approve those as submitted. The next item, report of the town manager, Mr. Warner.
Mayor Black, members of council, just a couple of quick administrative notes. Fall cleanup is next week, running from Monday, October 3rd through Friday, October 7th. If you're on the Monday route, we request that you have your items out by 7 a.m. on Monday so we can pick them up. And also, between now and our next meeting, town offices will be closed on October 10th in observance of a state-recognized holiday. And that's all I have tonight.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Warner? No? All right. Moving right along, appearances before council. We have one person signed up, Mr. David Herrick, president of the Bedford Rotary Club. Mr. Herrick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council. I'm David Herrick. I'm the president of the Bedford Rotary Club. In 2024, our club will be celebrating 100 years of service to the Bedford community. I don't know that there's any other community service club that has been around that long. In light of that, we are adopting an emphasis to promote clean environment. Rotary International, one of their 5 areas of focus is on the environment, and so we want to adopt something that we can do here in the town of Bedford in that vein. What I'm here today to ask council to consider is an ordinance to ban the use of single-use plastic in the town of Bedford. Now that would be plastics that you might find at the grocery store, pharmacy, or other retail businesses. To date, there are 8 municipalities or counties in the state of Virginia that have adopted some kind of ordinance in regards to single-use plastic, either an outright ban, or as in the way of the city of Roanoke, they have a 5-cent tax on each plastic bag. Now they're doing that, and you probably already know this, the state of Virginia allows municipalities to pass ordinances to charge up to 5 cents. You may or may not be aware that it is estimated that 18% of the garbage that goes into our landfills is comprised of single-use plastic. It's a 300-year decomposition time for plastic, and as they're decomposing, they release toxins into the ground. Now, I'm guessing that most landfills have liners. But as you can watch on the streets, not all plastic goes into the landfills. Our suggestion, and I've seen it in others, and I'll give you another statistic, just one more. There currently are 400 states and municipalities, 8 states, the rest are municipalities, both large and small, that have some kind of ordinance against the use of single-use plastic. If the town was to adopt an ordinance, you're going to be both reactive and proactive. You're reactive because this is already happening. We're seeing it nationwide. You're going to be proactive because you would be, as I understand, the first smaller community to adopt such an ordinance. There is a study on whether you do a tax or you just do an outright ban. If you do a tax, you do get a revenue, but it has been shown to be a little bit cumbersome to administer. And if you do an outright ban, then it's left up to the retailers as to how they're going to handle that. I was in New York a few weeks ago. City of New York, certainly largest around in the country, but they have a ban on single-use plastics. And if you go to a store and you don't have something to carry your items with, you purchase it. The stores have it to buy. I went one place, and being from out of town, I didn't have it, and it was 19 cents for a reusable bag. So anyway, our club would like to see the council consider an ordinance, do a study, and come up with something that would be beneficial to our environment and eventually to all of the people in this area. Our club does have some funds that we could help if you found a use or a need for some funds to promote this, or if there were any other environmental issues that you saw here in the town, please don't hesitate to ask us to help. We've been part of this community, as I said, for 100 years, and we would like to continue to help. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
All right, that was only people that signed up right now. Okay. All right, next is council comments. Mr. Carson, we'll start there. You have anything?
Well, all I would like to say is that I think Centerfest was a very big success. I've never seen so many people at Centerfest for a while, and everybody looks like they were enjoying themselves. They did a fine job. Also, the cornhole tournament that was held at the park, like it had a good turnout. I don't know if you played or not, Mr. Mayor, but
I tried.
but it looked like it had a very good turnout. So overall, I think this weekend gave citizens something to do, and it looked like they enjoyed it.
I too just want to thank all the organizations and departments involved in Centerfest. We were up there for quite a number of hours, looked like a very good crowd and great weather. I think Public Works, Police, Fire Department, they all did a great job. As far as I know, no problems. People had a good time and great event. It's good to kind of get back to normal. That's all.
Yeah, it was a nice event, and I was proud of what our police officers and others did to keep it nice and orderly and running along very smoothly. And of course, the cleanup crew from DW obviously had a big job to do, and they, as usual, we kind of look at them and go, well, yeah, they'll do it, but they always come through for us, and I appreciate their help.
Okay, first I want to welcome everybody to the meeting. I kind of like seeing this where a lot of people come out to our meetings. I wish this would happen more often. Also, another thing is Centerfest was a success, and I also want to thank somebody in particular that was at Centerfest for a little bit, and that's Captain Shannon Walker. He helped organize the car show to help raise some funds for Special Olympics. Captain Walker, thank you for doing that for Special Olympics.
All right, it sounds like Centerfest was a great time. Unfortunately, I missed that this year. I had some prior engagements, so but I knew looking at pictures and everything, it was a great crowd, and always glad to see people visiting downtown Bedford. One other thing coming up this week, if any of you are interested, on Thursday night from 5:30 to 8, the Legacy Education Foundation, is that the right name, but out of Lynchburg, is having a college and career day at the Bedford Visitor Center. Like I said, that's from 5:30 to 8. This is a group out of Lynchburg that's working with kids that have graduated from high school but aren't quite sure what they want to do, where they want to go, and is providing some good success. And they're coming to Bedford. I think Mary and the county EDA has been involved in that. So, if you have a chance and don't have anything to do Thursday night, you might want to come by it's an open house kind of thing. I think it's, you don't have, obviously don't have to be there 5:30 to 8, but I think they're going to have some type of presentation around 6 o'clock. That's what Mr. Dunton was telling me today, so just wanted to make everybody aware of that. All right. Next item, report of council committees. Bruce, we had a property committee meeting, so if you want to give council an update.
Tonight, the property committee met, and we went over a few things. One was some potential upgrades and ideas for one of our parks, and the other thing we looked at was our facility rental policy and use policy as well.
Right. Thank you. I believe that was on the council committee met since last time. Revisions to the agenda, I've got two. In the new business, I'm going to move the conditional use permit in front of the two presentations. I don't think that will take very long. So since we've got someone here presenting on that topic as well, I think I'd like to move them ahead so they don't have to, they might want to stay and sit through these great presentations we're going to have, but if not, that way he can get on home. And then the last thing is I would like to add another closed session item under section 2.23711A5 of the Code of Virginia for discussion concerning a prospective industry where no previous announcement has been made. So I'm going to add that as a second closed session item. With that, Mr. Warner, if you would, do we need a motion to adopt these revisions to the agenda?
You can, I mean, I don't know that you absolutely have to, but if
Is everybody fine with those? Okay, nice. Okay, all right, so next item, like I said, is the public hearing for a conditional use permit at 1100 Bonita Road for automotive repair garage. Mr. Warner?
Notice is hereby given of a public hearing to be held by the Town Council at 7:00 p.m. on Tuesday, September 27th, 2022, for the purpose of hearing consideration of a request for a conditional use permit in zoning district B2 for an automotive mechanical body repair garage for Crazy Rays located at 1100 Bonita Road, Bedford, Virginia, identified as tax parcel 146-A-88AT. The requester is Ray Paltoff, 721 College Street, Bedford, Virginia, 24523. Information has been on file in the Office of Planning and Community Development. Anyone who is in favor of or opposed to the request shall now have an opportunity to express his or her views at this hearing.
All right, with that, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody that would like to speak on behalf of this conditional use permit for the automotive repair garage at 1100 Bonita Road? Would the engineer like to?
good evening. Yes, Mr. Paltoff is planning to, he has an existing structure and he's doing basically vehicle restoration modification. It's more like a hot rod shop. So it's not to say it's a typical lube and oil change type of facility, but it's he's looking to possibly look at the expansion of the property to facilitate some additional buildings in phases, nothing immediate, but at this time he's just looking to try to get the conditional use permit established and with the stormwater and site plan, everything submitted, so it'll be on the go to when he's ready to build. So, do you all have any particular questions about the property or?
Does everybody know where it is?
That'll come after the new business.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If you got any questions for him, go ahead.
One question I would ask, with the other two businesses there, would there be any issue vehicles getting down into his property behind them businesses?
No, actually, the drive aisle has been in place for years, and there's access is pretty much free and clear. To be honest, the plumbing and the Blosman actually use his entrance to facilitate their businesses. So.
I know with propane trucks coming in or something like that, would be any kind of issue.
No. As I say, these are long-term type projects. It's not basically a daily or public facility. People may come down there to look at their cars as they're in progress, but it's not a daily type of operation. They'll have public coming down there all the time. So.
Thank you.
Is there anybody, we'll bring up if anybody's got any questions, we'll get another chance talking new business too, so. Not, is there anybody else that's all right now, I think?
I just need your name, please, for the
William
record.
Yeager.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yeager. Is there anybody else that would like to speak at the public hearing? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Next is, like I said, the appointment of the member to the Redevelopment and Housing Authority.
Yes, Mayor Black, members of council, the term of Ms. Frances Coles on the Redevelopment and Housing Authority will expire on October 13th, 2022. Ms. Coles has expressed a willingness to continue serving on the board if reappointed. Vacancy has been appropriately advertised and no other citizens have volunteered to serve. So tonight, council is requested to reappoint Ms. Frances Coles to serve on the Redevelopment and Housing Authority, said term to expire October 13th, 2026.
All right, is there a motion to appoint Ms. Coles to the term for the Redevelopment and Housing Authority?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Hartwick?
Aye.
Mr. Johansson?
Aye.
Mr. Schoen?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
All right, next item is an appointment of members to the Economic Development Authority.
Ms. Liz Brown and Mr. Ryan Kirkpatrick have requested reappointment to the Economic Development Authority. Said terms will expire November 30th, 2022. These positions have also been appropriately advertised, and no other citizens have volunteered to serve. Tonight, council is requested to reappoint Ms. Liz Brown and Mr. Ryan Kirkpatrick to the Economic Development Authority. Said terms to expire November 30th, 2026.
Do we have a motion to appoint Ms. Brown and Mr. Kirkpatrick to the Economic Development Authority?
I make a second.
We've got a first and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Hartwick?
Aye.
Mr. Johansson?
Aye.
Mr. Schoen?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mr. Carson?
Aye.
Mayor Black? Motion carries with 7 ayes.
All right, next item, new business. Like I said, we're going to move that resolution on the conditional use permit at 1100 Bonita Road for the automotive repair garage to the top. So, go ahead, Mr. Warner.
Subject property is located at 1100 Bonita Road, which is also Route 122. The property is zoned B2 and is owned by Raymond, Jake, and Luke Paltau. Hope I pronounced that correct. The owner's agent is William Yeager, who's a professional engineer and a licensed surveyor. The applicant proposes to expand an automotive and equipment repair garage. Expansion of the automotive repair use requires a conditional use permit be granted in the B2 district. The owner would like to build the smaller 50-foot by 40-foot building at this time. The larger 50-foot by 100-foot building would be built in the future based on the CUP concept, if approved for a permit. If the use of the future building will not be automotive repair garage, as shown on the concept and application, a conditional use permit would need to be amended for any use that is not by right in the zoning district at that time. Automotive, bus, and truck mechanical and body repair garages can be permitted in the B2 district with a conditional use permit subject to several standards, which I'm not going to read unless you make me. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on September 1st, 2022. The owner's agent was the only person who spoke in the hearing. The concern expressed by commission members was siltation from runoff from the site to the town-owned property and the pond at Liberty Lake Park. The agent assured members that the erosion and sediment control issues are being addressed and would be fully corrected as part of the ENS plan and the permit that would be issued by Bedford County following a conditional use permit issuance. Another comment was that the location was appropriate since the site was not visible from the road. The commission ultimately voted 6 members in favor and no members opposed to recommend approval to council with conditions. In its recommendation, the commission recommended the following conditions as drafted by staff. These may be accepted, rejected, or modified. However, the 6 minimum standards in the zoning ordinance may not be altered. The first condition is the minimum standards required in section 609.03C for automotive bus and truck mechanical and body repair garages shall apply. The second is that exterior storage of vehicles shall not be permitted on the site. The third is that a towing business shall not be permitted. The fourth is that the remaining undeveloped portion of the property shall be maintained as woods for stormwater management needs and shall provide a natural buffer to Liberty Lake Park, provided as the response to question 3 in the application. The fifth is that the site shall be developed according to the erosion and sediment control plan for Raymond Paltauff, dated November 16, 2021, as approved with the conditional use permit prepared by Peace of Mind Property Services. And the sixth is that all required agency approval shall be obtained, including Bedford Regional Water Authority, the Virginia Department of Health, Bedford County Natural Resources, or others for the final site plan as required. Tonight, council is requested to consider adopting a resolution to issue a conditional use permit for automotive bus and truck mechanical and body repair garage. As part of a resolution approving the application for a conditional use permit, council may also impose the recommended or new conditions. Council also has the option to not adopt the resolution.
All right.
Make a motion, we issue a conditional use permit for automotive, bus, and truck mechanical and body repair garage as part of a resolution approving the application for a conditional use permit.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I've got a few just curiosity questions. In reading through this, I mean, I'm just interested, this is going to be more of a restoration type business for older classic cars?
Correct, yes, that's basically what he's been operating.
Yeah, because I think on the picture, it looked like a 61 or 62 Chevrolet Impala there, so I figured
Yeah.
something along those lines.
Yeah, there's quite interesting stuff inside the garage if you get an opportunity.
I'll probably be up there at some point. Is he going to do engine work, or?
I'm not sure if he's going to be doing that deep into it, but he may.
Yeah, and I guess the paint booth,
Yes.
you know, have proper ventilation and all that. Yeah, okay. That sounds interesting.
If we
Thank
can
you.
get through BRWA.
What's that?
If we can get through the BRWA.
Yeah, I know what you mean there. Yeah, well, that's interesting. Thank you.
Excuse me.
Question?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, let me raise a point of information. Does the motion to approve include the 6 conditions?
Yes, I was going to ask that because
Yes, it does.
Okay, so we need to restate the motion.
Just for the clarity of the record, I would suggest we restate it as including the conditions and to get a second to that.
Okay, all right.
All right. I make a motion, we issue a conditional use permit for automotive, bus, and truck mechanical and body repair garage as part of a resolution appointing the application for a conditional use permit with the 6 conditions that are listed.
Thank you, Mr. Harmon.
Second.
All right, now we continue discussing that.
Okay.
All right, any other questions?
Oh, now, basically what you are going to do is custom painting. Are you going to do any of that with the cars?
Yes, they're going to be doing all kinds of framework and suspension, all kinds of things involved in a vehicle modification.
Excellent. Reason I ask is I have a friend out in LA that does works on cars, does some custom painting, and in fact, some of his cars have actually been in movies, and
Nice. Well, hopefully we'll get some from Bedford represented.
that would be really nice. I'd love to see that happen.
Yes.
Any questions or comments on this end? I actually went out there and I met 2 of the guys, I can't remember their names, I'm sure, and saw what they're doing. And like I said, I don't think that was a good thing. It was kind of off the road, you can't see it, and it's not going to be a high traffic business. I mean, they're doing some specialized work, and you're right, there's some pretty neat stuff in that garage. And I think they took care of the planning commission. My major concern was
the buffer with Liberty Lake Park is in there, and the erosion and sediment control.
Yeah,
So
so
I
I
felt
think
comfortable with it.
okay, that's good. Yeah, that was the biggest thing. I wanted to make sure we kind of took care of that. Okay. All right, any other comments, questions? No? If not, call for a vote.
Mr. Hartwick?
Aye.
Mr. Johannesson?
Aye.
Mr. Sherwin?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mr. Carson?
All right.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
All right?
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. All right, next thing, we got a couple presentations tonight, to get some information. I actually met with both the National D-Day Memorial and the Bedford Family YMCA, and they've got a lot of good stuff going on. So I asked them if they would come and make a presentation to council just to let us all know and let the community know some of the good things they're doing. So I think as first up, the National D-Day Memorial. All right. April, good to see you.
Thank you, Mayor Black and members of council. And I do have a handout here. Do you mind if I pass these out?
No, not at all.
Thank you.
Well, thank you again. As I'm April Messier, president of the National D-Day Memorial, and I really appreciate your time this evening and allowing me to come and update you on some very exciting projects going on at the memorial. The packets of information there I'll kind of walk through it, but I'll be brief this evening. But please know I'm available at any time you all have questions or would like me to expound on any of that. Before I do so, if you turn the page to the first page there, I just want to share a little bit of information about how we shared or how we fared during the pandemic, and you'll see a little chart right there. We get that question a lot. It's been a long few years for everyone, and as you'll see on your first page of the packet there, you'll see some of our virtual numbers and our on-site numbers during the pandemic. Actually, we did pretty well the last few years. As you can see, the blue highlights our digital participation, and the purple highlights our on-site visitation numbers. We really took the opportunity during the pandemic, like a lot of museums, to expand our virtual footprint. And we were very successful at that. When the pandemic occurred, we actually shut the site down for 3 months. It was the first time we'd ever done that. It was during our busiest season, so that certainly hurt. But what we did do was gain a lot of digital traffic in our programming. So by the end of the fiscal year, and our fiscal year ends in June each year, so by the end of the fiscal year in 2020, if you look at that chart there, we had nearly 110,000 visitors participate in our on-site and digital programming. And you can compare that to the years previous. It was pretty remarkable. So over 70,000 of that was just digital participants who, again, if you look at the years prior, we only had about 2,500 on average prior to that. So this was a significant jump. We got very creative. We had virtual lectures, virtual field trips, virtual book clubs, virtual day camps, virtual ceremonies. There was a lot of virtual things going on, but it was very successful, and we learned a lot. The reality is that if you're a student in California, the chances of you coming to Bedford on a field trip are very slim. So how do we reach those students? And we really took that opportunity to reach out to schools across the country and figure out how we could reach them. We worked with a lot with inner city schools, for example. We did quite a bit of programming in Chicago, in Richmond. It was really wonderful because it also allowed us to expand our accessibility. It's so important that all of our students, no matter ages, ethnicity, nationality, or income level, have the accessibility to learn about the lessons and legacy of World War II. They're so important to all of us. So we were really thrilled to see these numbers. In the next fiscal year, 2021, the virtual numbers stayed high. They did down a little bit to about 51,000, but that was because of virtual fatigue that I think everybody was feeling by that point. But you can see on-site visitation started to creep up. And finally, in the past fiscal year, which ended this past June, our digital numbers stayed relatively the same, about 46,000, and our on-site numbers jumped to around 50,000 visitors a year in person. So we're really back to our pre-COVID levels, which is really exciting to see people from all over the country visiting the memorial again. So again, we reached about 100,000 people in the last fiscal year through our on-site and digital programming. So that's been the upside of the pandemic for us, is that we've really expanded our reach. We're really proud of these numbers. And if you turn to the next page, you can see our school numbers have also increased. When COVID happened, of course, schools stopped coming. We didn't see them for a while. But by this past fiscal year, we're nearly, again, back to our pre-COVID levels with field trips around 3,500 students. And that other figure that you see there, and the next, actually, where it says fiscal year 23 are our bookings so far for this new fiscal year, which is pretty remarkable because we're only 3 months into the fiscal year. So we're really seeing interest among teachers and others, and in spite of bus driver shortages and gas prices and everything, a big turnout to the site from students from all over to come and learn this important history. So again, encouraging numbers. The next page just shows you our in-person visitation numbers. Again, just can't stress enough how important that is to see people back traveling, coming to Bedford from all over the country and visiting with us. Part of that is because of a pretty aggressive marketing campaign. If you turn the page there, you'll see just a little snapshot of some of our marketing that we're doing. We have a firm that we work with in Richmond called Elevation Marketing. They've done a really remarkable job of getting us out there on a national stage, encouraging people through every channel possible to come to Bedford. You know, social media, display advertising, printed pieces. They have a real knack for finding out, you know, where we need to put our advertising and where our advertising dollars should go. And as you can see there, some of the ads have just done exceptionally well. We have found that people really respond to seeing our veterans in these ads. They really want to come and pay tribute. One of my favorites is right there where he said, as the world opens up, again, you know, as COVID started to release its hold on everybody, remember those who reopened it in 1944. I mean, some really powerful messaging that I think really resonated people. So we have a very strong digital strategy. I'm going to be talking about our capital projects in just a moment, but we're also, again, very focused on that digital footprint and that digital infrastructure. So if you turn the page, just want to show that we've been very successful in garnering some new engagement opportunities and donors through some of our personal live feeds and what we do with our ceremonies now. In fact, we love Woody Watts. Woody, wherever you are, you're amazing. You know, he professionally videos our ceremonies, and people love it. Again, a lot of veterans, a lot of people can't get to us physically. To be able to sit in your living room and watch our Memorial Day ceremony professionally done is just fantastic. It's made a huge difference. So we're really reaching out to make those the most professional that we can. Our podcast, which we also do with Woody Watts Studio, we have a world-renowned author and historian in Missouri, who Dr. John McManus, who's our host of our podcast, and we have authors from all over the world. We do that twice a month, and it's amazing how many people have downloaded our podcast and listened to that. So again, just reaching out to new audiences and getting more and more people involved in the memorial and the work that we do from across the country and internationally. Our podcast is in all kinds of countries now too, so it's pretty exciting to see that. So all these different formats are working, and you can see just a couple of things. In addition to that, we're excited to be working with several firms right now to create a virtual reality experience using VR headsets. So for example, we can actually take this on the road to schools or to other talks that we do when we're on the road, or have it at the memorial. You put on a headset, and it literally transports you to the beaches of Normandy in 1944 and what that looked like. So again, just engaging people in different ways, augmented reality elements as well that allow you to take a virtual tour of the memorial, either off-site or while you're on the grounds. And we'll be implementing that as well with our Bedford Homefront tour also. So we're working with this firm closely so that we can have a much better, more sophisticated guided tour of the Bedford Homefront tour and all the plaques that we have downtown. So we'll be working with that as well. If you, again, turn the page, and I will mention those are just a lot of the projects that are ongoing right now, so we'll have more updates on those shortly, but just gives you an idea of some of the diversity of things that we're testing and doing with our audiences. So capital projects. If you turn the page, you'll see a lot of things on there. We have a lot happening, and it's all good things that we really we created a master plan for the memorial several years ago, and we're really starting to implement some of those elements into the monument now. You've probably heard me talk about our walking trail. Our Ridgeway Deming walking trail is approximately a 1-mile trail along the wooded section of the monument that will incorporate some education stations along the way that highlight how resources were used during World War II, and also typical items about nature that can be used for our scout groups, our school groups, and things like that. Construction will begin in November. We had hoped to begin a lot sooner, but that just didn't happen. So we're going to be beginning construction in November, and we hope to dedicate the trail completely by the spring of next year. But it's going to be a great addition to the monument. A lot of people travel, a lot of people traveling with pets. What a great addition to the monument to be able to have that wooded section of the memorial, which is going to have some beautiful sitting areas overlooking the community. So, and it will be an asphalt trail. And it will meet Forest Service accessibility guidelines so that we can actually have wheelchairs, for example, on the trail and things like that. It's going to be a nice addition. And you can just see that map there, just shows you how it goes around the circle of the monument there, and we'll take you all the way through. It's going to have some nice landscaping and things throughout. So again, just another nice addition and another educational resource that we can use as well for our groups. The other project that you may have heard me talk about is our outdoor amphitheater. So if you turn the page next, you'll see the kind of rendering of what that will look like. Our amphitheater, we've been raising money for a little while now. COVID slowed us down, so we're kind of back in fundraising mode. During COVID, you couldn't travel, so it was harder to go ask for funding for this, but we're back on the road now. And this amphitheater, I think, is a really important project for our community. This is a nice amphitheater that will house over 1,000 people. It'll allow us to do a lot more programming at the memorial, but also allow us to reach out to the community to use as well. So it's a wonderful resource for concerts and for theatrical performances. For us, a lot of our veteran groups and reunion groups who come up to the memorial, a really important addition to us to be able to use, and allows us to not take away from programming happening at the memorial with groups when we can have the amphitheater. We've raised about $1.3 million to date. We need to raise about an additional $3 million in order to finish that particular project. So fundraising is ongoing. We don't have a definitive timeline on when we will be finished with it, but we are fundraising right now. Any questions on those projects yet before I jump into our next? So the motor pool. I'm really excited about the motor pool. This is a 1940s motor pool. Talking about cars a while ago, this made me think about how exciting it will be to have this. Our motor pool will actually serve as our first major indoor museum. It's going to feature armored and transport vehicles, stories of the Allied armies that basically battled in the trench foe to liberate Europe. And we have this entire collection that is being donated to us. So if you turn the pages, you're going to see just part of that collection. This is a pretty fabulous collection. It's called the Lee Holland Collection. It's been graciously donated to the memorial. It's ready to display the new motor pool whenever we have it built. And you can see all types of artifacts that come with the collection, as well as all of these vehicles. This gentleman is the guru of World War II vehicles. He's the History Channel's consultant for the Mechanized Army of World War II. He was looking for a home for these World War II vehicles, and he decided on the National Duty Memorial. He said, that's where I want my collection to go. These are his babies. He spent about 40 years collecting these, and they're meticulously restored. He's done it all himself. This is really going to draw people to the memorial. It's quite a collection that we're really excited about getting, and so that's why this motor pool becomes really important. We did receive our first big donation for that this June, a $1 million gift, and we continue to raise funds to get the motor pool built. It's actually become a pretty high priority right now on our list, is to move forward with the motor pool as quickly as we can. So this is, again, going to have a number of galleries and artifacts in that from our own collection as well, so we'll add significantly to that. If you look past the vehicles, you're going to see a tank, and let me just mention something about the tank, which is also something we're really excited about. So you see the picture of the tank there, which looks like it's in terrible condition. And you're absolutely right, because it was in the English Channel for about 3 decades, and it was on the beaches on D-Day. This amazing tank was a DD tank, a duplex drive tank. There were very few of them. They had the rubber flotation device around them. They were used on D-Day. There were 32 of these tanks off of Omaha Beach on D-Day, and 27 of them sank. There were very few that actually made it to the beaches at all. These are rare. You don't see these every day. In fact, to my knowledge, there's not a single one of these in the United States, and there are very few in France. This particular DD tank, we found out, had been pulled out of channel, was at a museum in France for a couple of decades, and the U.S. Army took it back, and they now have it, and we've been working with the U.S. Army for about 3 years to get the tank at our facility. And it looks like it's going to happen. We are going to be doing some fundraising. Their naval archaeology underwater team has actually done the work to figure out what needs to be done to preserve the tank. And when I say preserve, we're not trying to restore it. We don't want it to look like it did in 1944. We just want to keep it from deteriorating further. But this is going to be the showpiece of the memorial. We're so excited about this. You're going to be hearing more about our Save the Tank campaign and some other initiatives coming up. But what an amazing piece of history that nobody else in the United States has. And so we're really excited to be adding that to our collection of vehicles, and you'll hear more about that in the short term. So these are some priceless artifacts. This is a snapshot. I really just wanted to give you all kind of a big picture of all the things that we have going on at the memorial. As you can see, it's a lot. I kind of rushed through giving you the quick. But I tell you, our long-term vision continues as well, and that last page there is our vision for the future, which is also the main museum building that's in the mimics the French village of Saint-Marie-du-Mont in Normandy, and we're very excited about the long-term vision of the monument. That first building, that museum building that's right in the center, will be the main education building in the future of the memorial. In fact, I was in Normandy a few weeks ago and I met with the mayor at Saint-Marie-du-Mont. I shared the plans with him, and he was pretty amazed that his little village would be kind of mimicked here in Bedford, Virginia, and we're very excited about that. So we've got a great partnership already started. And that's part of our long-range goal. That building is still a few years out. Obviously, we have to finish all these other projects, but we have 15,000 amazing artifacts in our collection to fill this museum with, and we continue to get more every day. And so, you know, this is our vision. And it's really so important because as we stand here over the course of the next month, we'll lose another 7,000 World War II veterans who will leave us. And you think about the fact that there were 16 million World War II veterans who served during World War II, 16 million, and less than 170,000 are still with us today. So it now becomes our responsibility, and when I say ours, I mean ours, all of us. It's up to us to make sure that this history stays alive, that we keep their memory alive. You know, these projects, some small, some large, they all will help achieve that purpose of engaging people and keeping them this story in everybody's heart and soul. You know, if we're not passing it on to our kids, it will be forgotten, and we can never let that happen, especially our community, with all that it has given. It's pretty amazing to drive through streets of Normandy and see pictures of the Bedford boys on banners along the streets, and to know, I know that family, I know that person, that hero that's hanging on that banner right there. It's pretty amazing to experience that and know what we have here is very, very, very special. So we have a lot of work to do. We're beyond grateful to the town for your assistance, your support, sometimes your staff who helps us out in a pinch, like DW and Mary and so many others who are always so gracious to help us out. And we're just very proud to work with the town and to have such a close partnership in ensuring that our visitors to the area have not only a good experience at the memorial, but a great experience and a great welcome when they come into our community. And so we thank you for that because it's noticed by people who visit here from all over. So thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Does anybody got any questions?
I don't have a question. I'd just like to say thank you for the work that you're doing. I think the D-Day Memorial is going to draw a lot more people to Bedford. And I'm hoping that we get ourselves in a position where they not only see D-Day Memorial, they see Bedford.
That's right.
But you're doing a fine job, you and your staff, and I thank you for
Thank you, Mr. Carson, I appreciate that very much.
And, you know, April, I will say this, if it weren't for D-Day, a lot of these stories that you now have on film, video, would have just gone to the grave. A lot of these guys that made it back, you know, the Stevens and a lot of them, you know, gave their story, I mean, and how they survived and what all they went through once they got on the beach. But Bedford is known for that, and you guys are doing a great job. And I will say this, my dad served in World War II in the Army Air Corps. He was in the China-Burma India Theater. But growing up, he could not talk about D-Day without getting emotional. I mean, it had that impact on everybody.
Absolutely.
And it's still there.
Yes, very much so.
But thank you.
And we'll be sharing those stories
Oh, yeah.
in these educational facilities.
Yeah.
Okay, couple questions. One, this is just to kind of get this on the record a little bit for people that may not be aware of your virtual reality or virtual visits. How much do those cost, and about how far away have you gotten students to get involved with that?
The virtual programs we do not charge for those. They're free, and we want that accessible to anyone who can use those. And so we think that's very important. So great question, I'm glad you asked that, but we'd like to have those accessible to all at no cost.
Good.
One thing I have to say is, thank you for all the hard work that you do for the memorial up there. The memorial is a great thing for the town of Bedford and for the surrounding areas. Your staff, your board members, your people that help you around the memorial, thank everybody for all the great work, because it's a beautiful facility.
Thank you, Mr. Head, and I will pass that along as well. Thank you, appreciate that.
And I'll echo that, you know, I mean, we know y'all are doing some wonderful things, and this is exciting stuff that's coming down the pike. I mean, it's gonna really kind of enhance what you've already done and take it to another level, really. I mean, and it's exciting to look forward to it, and hopefully, you know, we can help in ways that we can, and continue to support you as a town and a community. So thank you for all you do. April and Tara is here, and everybody, you know, we appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor. We appreciate you. Thank you very much, all of you.
All right. Good. Thank you. So next, we have the Bedford Family YMCA. They've got some exciting stuff going on too. So, Mr. Molnar, you're going to speak first? Okay. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, board members, gentlemen. Good evening. My name is Mike Molnar. I'm chairman of the board of Bedford Family YMCA. I thank you again for the time to allow us to make our case for the project we have going. The project is phase 2 of a 4-phase plan, namely a state-certified DSS approved daycare, child care center for infants and preschool children. Early on, I became an advocate for the Y. Back in the early 90s, I joined the Y and became an advocate. At that time, I served as president of Sam Moore and continued as president until I retired in 2008. During that period, I served as chairman of the Y at the time, and as a graduate of Virginia Tech, I supported the recruitment of Tech to use their expertise to give us a long-range master plan to develop our 36 acres into something that the community would be proud of. That campus in the Y has expanded over the years. We started with 26 acres and it's turned into 36 now. Tech gave us that master plan, and the first project was a construction of a 12,000 square foot gymnasium, and also renovation of the old exercise wellness area. The cost of that was $3.2 million. We raised the money, Coleman Adams built the project, and this was done at the first, in the beginning of our master plan, back 20 years ago. It was 2004. But the good news is, after that, several years after that, our membership quadrupled. At the time, we had major support from local businesses, and the point I want to make tonight is that horizon has changed. My company, Sam Moore, contributed $100,000 to that project. Our new owners at the time, Lazy Boy, contributed $100,000. And I personally gave $60,000. But on top of all that, the former owner of Sam Moore, John Boardman, contributed $250,000. So now we're over $500,000. But besides that, Piedmont Label contributed $25,000. Frank Chavan contributed $52,000. Other companies to mention would be Golden West. Golden West contributed $25,000. And the reason I relate all this is most of those companies have gone or changed hands or downsized. So the challenge we face today is we've got to be very resourceful in finding funding to complete the master plan. Several years ago, we did a community needs assessment. Centra Health did their own community needs assessment. We came to the same conclusion. Both surveys had similar results. The two issues that rose to the top were child care and wellness. Wellness for adults, for seniors, and for children. We have plans to address and those solutions to both of these issues in our phase four of our phases. Several years ago, the National Ymca developed a new mission statement. They no longer wanted to be known as just gym and swim. So the new mission statement centers on healthy living, youth development, and social responsibility. Our four-phase building plan also supports these mission goals. Our phase one is completed. We cleared 7 acres of woods, constructed 9 soccer fields. We built an outdoor stage with equipment for open-air events that we've started using since COVID. We contracted the installation of a water spray park, which recently just was completed. And lastly, we ordered 2 new 14-passenger buses to transit seniors to and from the Y and to other local events. All this is happening during the 2-year period during COVID, and it cost us over $700,000. Well, the good news is that's all paid for. Phase one is all paid for. Now we're well into phase two, that being building a child care center. Coleman Adams broke ground early this month. Footings have been poured and the steel arrived last week. We're beginning construction of a 9,000 square foot building. The cost is $1.5 million. Completion is for late winter, early spring. Just to finish the overview, phase 3 is going to be a construction of a new wellness center next to the gym with a footprint that's about the same size as the gym. And phase 4 is going to be the renovation of the old wellness building, and we're going to have additions of studios, a teaching kitchen for healthful cooking. We're going to have a teen center, a community center for various events and meetings, and a new child watch area. Now, with that overview, I'd like to introduce Mary Jo Boone. Most of you know her. She's the CEO and the chairman of the Bedford YMCA.
Hi all, thank you all for having us tonight. Actually, I'm Andy Crawford right now, Mary Jo Boone for the record, but Andy, we have a team presenting tonight with different aspects of why the need is so important and why we need to step up to the plate and meet this need. So I asked Andy to come, and there's a team that will all speak as well. but he couldn't make it. So he sent a letter, so I'm going to read it. So this is from Andy Crawford, who is the director of the Department of Social Services. Dear council members, I'm writing to support the Bedford Area Family YMCA's request for support in building a new child care program. Bedford is designated as a child care desert by a national study published by the Center of American Progress. Child care deserts are defined as any census tract that is home to at least 50 children under the age of 5 and has a ratio of children to child care spots greater than 3 to 1. So meaning there's 3 children and only 1 spot to fill that. Not that I really need to explain that to you. As of 2019, Bedford and Bedford County had a ratio of 21 children in every child care or early education spot. That's well over the 3 to 1 ratio, which is why we were designated as a desert, child care desert. Lack of child care significantly hinders economic development for the town and the ability of working parents to maintain employment. The need is especially high for ages 6 weeks to kindergarten. My own employees struggle to find quality child care for their preschool-age children. It was very hard on the community when the YMCA was no longer able to continue its preschool program due to insufficient space, which we ended a few years ago. I have been in discussions with the YMCA since that time, providing advocacy and data needed to reopen preschool care. I'm excited that the Bedford Area Family YMCA's Board of Directors has a plan to expand their program to provide this much-needed service to our community. It will benefit our employers, our families, our children, and the real estate market, as many families will not relocate to Bedford due to the lack of childcare and preschool programming. The Bedford Area Family YMCA has been a great community partner as they provide 7 licensed after-school programs currently in the county. So we're in 7 schools. This is my ad lib. We're in 7 schools around the county, sending our staff to take care of kids after school and during the summer. Successfully operating licensed centers and maintaining a good standing with the licensing divisions with the many increased standards, the many increased standards, also makes the YMCA a trustworthy partner. Thank you for your serious consideration of this request to partner in an endeavor to improve the health and well-being of our community. All right, I am going to pass the torch to our next speaker.
Just one quick question. That 21 to 1, how big an area is that?
Bedford
around?
County, Bedford Town.
That's is that the whole county?
Mhm.
That's the whole county, okay.
Including the town.
Including the town, yeah, okay, all right, thank you.
Yep.
Good evening. My name is Holly Lane. I work for United Way of Central Virginia. Most importantly with the Bright Beginnings aspect of it, where we work to promote early childhood education in Lynchburg and surrounding counties. I'm also the chair of the Bedford Area Resource Council Child Care Committee. And we took the information from these surveys and realized that we have a big problem in Bedford. First of all, I'd like to give kudos to the Y. One of the things we do in my office is provide something called a mixed delivery program. So children who are eligible for Head Start or the public school preschool program are eligible for mixed delivery. The Head Start and VPI programs, public school, fill up quickly, and there are children that are left unserved. With this grant, we're able to place these children into private child centers. And it benefits the child center because we're able to pay a tuition that's much larger than they would get from a paying parent. So we had a program in the one licensed program in the town of Bedford, and we had some issues with that program and were forced to pull out our support. That left about 12 children and families with nowhere to go. So we approached Mary Jo at the Y and said, hey, what can we do? And together, it's unbelievable that we were able to open 2 classrooms at their neighboring church. To get a license takes a long time, but with the efforts of everyone, we were able to rush it through and we were able to place those families. So they are now there at the Church of Christ next to the Y. We'll continue to operate that until the new building is built, and we're very excited about that. We all know that skilled and educated workforce is really important to our economy. And as Andy said, we can't bring businesses in, and we can't bring employees in because they have nowhere to take their children. There have been a lot of long-term studies on the effects of quality early care, but there's this thing called the Heckman Equation, and it was done by Nobel laureate in economics from the University of Chicago, Joseph Heckman, and his team, and they took all these studies and researched to find out what the economic impact was. And I'm sure you can guess that the early childhood, quality early childhood affects our economy and makes a really good difference. In fact, they calculated that it's a 13% return on investment. To me, that's a pretty amazing number. When we invest in these programs and we're reaching children, especially at-risk children, we are able to change the trajectory of their lives. And that saves us money. When children go to school ready to learn, when they've been in these high-quality programs, there's less need for remediation. There's less need for special ed. Children that have quality early experiences have been shown to be way more likely to graduate from high school, to get a job, to pay taxes, and to be a contributing part of our society. Children who are in adverse situations and environments at the early ages are causing us a lot of trouble in schools right now. We have a lot of children experiencing what we call trauma brain because of neglect, abuse. And if we don't reach these children between the ages of 0 and 5, we've lost them. So that puts a huge strain on our economy when we have to take care of these folks when they become adults who can't work. I'm going to share with you some information about this Heckman Equation and let you read it at your leisure. I just really feel very strongly that the more we can put into early education, the more we'll get out. And there's a graph on the back that shows the earlier we invest, the greater our return. Right now, there's hardly anywhere in this town to take an infant child for care. The programs, we have 2 licensed programs in Bedford County on the forest side that have humongous waiting list. So we are definitely a rather sad child care desert. And I very much would like to see that change. And I believe that the Y, the Bedford Y, is our best bet because they're going to start a chain of events that will encourage others to join. So I hope that you will support us and our most valuable assets, our children. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Cindy Perdue, and I am the Kindergarten Readiness Facilitator for Bedford County Public Schools. I support preschool and kindergarten classrooms throughout the county, and we have 19 preschool classrooms in 9 of our schools, and about 250 students in those preschool classrooms. We also have about 650 kindergarten students throughout the county in our kindergarten classrooms. I'm here tonight to ask you for your support for the Bedford YMCA Child Care Facility. There is a profound need for this facility to support children and the workforce of Bedford County. The YMCA has long had a partnership with our school system. They have been partners with our 21st Century Community Learning Centers grant, provide before and after school care for children at many of our school locations, and have always been willing to support schools when there's a need. The YMCA supports the needs of our community. I'd like to speak about the importance of quality child care and school readiness. Between the ages of 0 to 5, 90% of a child's brain development occurs. During those formative years, it is critical that children are afforded quality child care and preschool opportunities. Quality childcare means quality interactions between teachers and children, engaging in their learning through play, asking questions, building foundational literacy and math skills through reading and language, and helping children learn those social skills like sharing and getting along with each other. Because preschool, as you know, is not compulsory, nor is it fully funded in the state of Virginia, only a percentage of Virginia's children are eligible to attend, leaving others to be placed in child care or to stay at home with family members. In Bedford County, we have about 4,600 children between the ages of 0 to 5. And we're only able to serve 250 of those in our public preschool programs, leaving over 4,000 children under age 5 that need child care in our county. By the time children enter kindergarten, they're expected to be able to share, regulate their behavior, be able to write their name, count, know some letters and letter sounds, recognize shapes and colors, and create patterns. Children who attend quality child care or preschool settings are taught these skills and participate in those critical reading and math, vision and hearing screenings that help to identify difficulties early that children are having so that intervention can take place before they begin kindergarten. One of the screenings that children undergo in preschool is called the Virginia Kindergarten Readiness Program. And for the fall of 2021, those results showed that 42% of our kindergartners in the state of Virginia did not come to kindergarten with those school readiness skills that they need. And that equates to about 30,000 children in Virginia going into kindergarten not ready, or about 275 of our kindergarten students out of our 654 that we have today. So a little over a third of those students. This disparity is exacerbated for children who come from at-risk families. And as we just heard, Bedford County is considered a child care desert. The availability of quality child care and preschool, or simply child care at all, is limited. This not only has a direct effect on children being ready for kindergarten and succeeding in school, but it also impacts the workforce in Bedford County. Families are forced to choose between working and staying at home to care for their children because they don't have access to child care. According to the child care survey that we talked about last fall, 50% of our businesses here in Bedford County reported that they were impacted by the shortage of child care. And the Bedford YMCA Child Care Facility would give families a child care option so that they're able to return to the workforce. This investment would be an investment in the future of our economy, our children, and the education in Bedford County. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Good evening, and thank you for letting me speak. My name is Kara Sensenegg, and I work with Virginia Quality, which is part of the United Way, and I coach and train all of the child care workers and teachers that are in Campbell County, Bedford County, Appomattox, Amherst, and Alta Vista. So one thing that I think is a misconception is that the Y is building a child care center, and I think the public sees that as child care. Virginia Department of Education took over child care from the social services besides basic health and safety issues. And the reason they did that is because of that critical importance of brain development between the ages of 0 and 5. What I would like to show you is how quickly the neurons form from birth up until 5 years. There are 700 synapses that are formed every second in a child's life. So if you will take this visual, I don't know if I have I think I'm short on time. But if you will take that visual of the neurons firing at age birth, look at what happens at 2 months. This means that they are learning. Look at what happens at 6 months. Look at what happens at 2 years. They are multiplying and doubling. By 4 years, they start to decrease a little bit. By 5 years, 90% of the brain is developed. The critical importance of getting these children, I cannot stress enough. And we need to have good child care programs, and they need to be quality child care. The inequities that Cindy was talking about, these are not just your children and your grandchildren that are attending preschool. We are talking about families that cannot afford good quality care. And these kids are coming to kindergarten not prepared and not ready because we don't have the education that they need in those first 5 years. The second picture that you showed, that I showed, is a picture of an MRI of a 12-month-old infant. The picture, the colors in the one infant, and I don't have a copy of it, so I think it's the one on the left-hand side, is an infant that's raised in a safe and secure environment and that was exposed to language literacy in the first 12 months. That's the brain activity in that infant. The second picture on the right is an infant in an orphanage. And you can see the difference in colors in that MRI of brain development. So I cannot stress enough to you the importance of those first 5 years. This is not just child care, it's educating our youngest learners in the state of Virginia so they are prepared and they have a solid foundation when they start school so that they can succeed later in life. And I'm going to leave a QR code that is a 7-minute TED Talk on how every child can thrive by the age of 5. Please take 7 minutes to watch this. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Now I'm Mary Jo Boone at the Bedford YMCA. First of all, thank you to those of you who were able to come out and get a tour and see the Y and see what we're doing. Hopefully, well, what we heard from you all was, wow, I never knew. I didn't know you were doing all of this. So we are absolutely not a swim and gym. I've been here 21 years and the Y's been around for 45 years, and what we have always, certainly what we've done for the last 21 years and for the last 45 years is collaborate. We morph into what the community needs us to be. So we are still that swim and gym because we still need to do that, teaching thousands of kids how to stay safe in the water and helping people become healthier. But this whole child care issue came up several years ago, and it's not child care. Like, that's the only word we say a lot, but it really is teaching those kids. And now my worry is that our facility that we're getting ready to build, which will potentially serve 60 children ages 0 to 5, is not big enough. Like, what the heck? I did not realize these statistics. But the biggest thing is that we are going to be teaching these kids. We will have a curriculum from the very tiniest infant all the way up. We'll be licensed and meeting those standards that there's a lot of. Like, children need to be outside for an hour every single day. They need to be, have tummy time. They don't need to be in front of a screen. There won't be any screens at the YMCA. We have a lot of outdoor space. And those of you who came and saw what we have this awesome teaching garden that we put in with the 21st Century program with grant funds from the Department of Ed because they were saying that the YMCA is offering a really awesome outdoor classroom program to these elementary school age kids. So imagine these preschool, these little infants sitting in a strawberry patch picking strawberries. How cool is that? And there is no child care center that will be, or preschool early education program that will be teaching these little infants and on up how to swim and how to stay safe in the water. It's part of the program. It's a value add that we can throw in there at no extra charge. So I'm excited, but what I want you all to hear is that this is a collaboration. Like, this is the team, and it's bigger than the Y. It's bigger than us sitting in this room. It's a huge need in our community, and the Y is stepping up to meet the need. But it's not a Y program, it's a community program. It's going to impact, well, you heard. I can't say any more than what they already said. It's going to impact our community in ways bigger than we can imagine. And we're stepping up, We want to be a partner with you all and all of them and collaborate to continue to make this community awesome. And the D-Day stuff, that was pretty awesome too. We'll be strolling those infants right on up there. But anyway, I'm proud to be a part of this community. It's a great, we definitely have a collaborative spirit, and we're just happy and proud that we're able to do this, and we've broken ground, and we're putting steel beams up come hell or high water, but we still need $1.5 million. Thank you all. Mike's going to wrap it up for you.
Wow, these ladies just blow me away. Thank you for all the comments, ladies. I'm going to just throw my notes out. I think they've established the need, and I think it's up to us to collaborate and take the lead. And I guess we're just looking for the town council and the Y to take the lead and lead the county in a collaboration that'll find ways to fund this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions, comments?
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to add, you've always got to have skin in the game. Our board of directors, in the last 2 years, we've had a campaign among ourselves to support this project, and I'd just like to be on the record as saying that we've raised over $300,000 from our board to support this project.
Wow.
Thank you. That's my last comment.
Thank you. I just would like to say I was one that went up and took the tour, and I was really taken back and impressed by what all was going on up there. I mean, first started out by the garden. They were showing kids how to start from seed to when it went to pick, and thought, gosh, I could probably use lessons in that myself. But and then the preschool and all that, child care. I mean, it was just totally awesome what I did not know was going on up there. Besides the state-of-the-art exercise equipment and everything, you all have really done a fantastic job. And I appreciate you showing me around and giving me the tour. And the ones who have not been up there, I would highly encourage you to go up there and let Mary Jo and whoever else, Phil, or whoever else is there, give you all the tour. You will be impressed. And I thank you.
Having spent most of my adult life in economic development and employment, the critical need for child care remains. Ever since I started, I worked with ADC programs early from the Employment Commission, and every time our problems were always either transportation or child care that messed up a job. We could work very hard finding employment for people, and then something would happen to a child care situation or an automobile, and we'd be out of luck. But child care remains throughout this whole country. You talk about a desert. The desert runs through the whole country, and the need for adequate child care and not just this casual thing that goes on, it's ridiculous. We should be spending on the national level much, much, much more money on child care. It's amazing how many people complain, well, people are lazy. They're not lazy. They want to work, but they want their children to be safe and secure. And without adequate child care, they're not. So I get tired of hearing that from people. And I don't know how many times I've heard that, and then I start giving them statistics on this, and their eyes kind of go, huh? Like I said, I've spent 50 years of my life working in employment on all kinds of angles of this, and it's just amazing to me we're not making a lot of progress when it comes to child care. Any employer coming into this area, the things they ask about is, what are your schools like, and what about your workforce? Can they come to work? And if you start talking about women women are going to take care of their children first. And they're not going to feel like going to work unless they have adequate child care. So it's wonderful that the Y has taken on this. I just think we need to expand it further than what we are right now. We need to spend the money on it. It's not a frivolous thing. I'll shut up.
I appreciate that. Quality childcare, it's not babysitting.
No.
Absolutely. Okay, first I want to say, when I went to take the tour, I was very impressed with everything I saw. Before going there, at first I thought it was just going to be a gym and maybe a place to swim, but with everything you have going on there, I was quite impressed. I was also impressed with that learning garden you have. It reminded me of my grandma. My grandma told me when she was the closest to God was when she was working in the garden, working in her flower bed. And, you know, that kind of brought back some memories. So I want to thank you for doing that. But something else I want to ask is, do you have a website and a link where people can donate and a Facebook page? Because I would love to be able to help get the word out to try and help you raise some funds.
So thank you for that question. At this phase, this is the major campaign phase, so we're looking for big dollars right now. So we're not out in the community yet raising money, so we haven't started that phase of the campaign yet. So we're still trying to raise the big dollars right now, but definitely that will come so that everybody can be a part of it. And every dollar will count for sure in the end of it, for sure.
Please let me know when you start something like that,
Yeah.
because I'd like to get the word out to help you.
Definitely will, thank you.
You'll be addressing the county as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure on that.
We're slated to visit with them sometime in November, and we'll bring the team, and, you know, this is a team effort, like I said, not just us, but if you all have any thoughts, ideas, we need to get creative to make this happen, for sure. And we'll need the town and the county to help us get creative and figure out how to fund this. And
Primary funding now is for the building, right?
yes, exactly, for the
As far as
building.
the ongoing saving costs, because you're serving part of the community that, you know, paying for childcare is hard, even if you have quality childcare.
For
How are they
sure.
going to pay for it?
For
So
sure.
is there a plan in place for that for?
Yeah, so, as you know, like, the most expensive will be the infant care, which is why it's so hard to find infant care, because that's a program that will probably, at the end of the day, lose money, because the ratio is 1 to 4, 1 adult to 4 kids, 4 infants. And then as you get a little older, the ratio increases all the way up to school age is 1 to 18. So with the big picture in mind, we'll make it work. We also raise money on an annual basis for financial assistance for families who can't afford our services, whether it's membership, swim lessons, swim team, or certainly childcare. So we will continue that. And the other thing is that the state, like Cindy mentioned, is asking schools to provide now 3-year-old preschool programs to educate 3-year-olds. It used to be 4-year-olds, used to be 5-year-olds now. So they realize that there's such a need. So there is some funding available for that, through that, and we work closely with the schools and we'll continue to do that. Cindy and I are in constant, even though we only have 15 spots right now at our preschool program, as soon as one comes available, we don't have it filled, I call her and I say, we have an opening, and she gives me like 10 names of people to contact. So it's, this is how we'll keep it going, and there is funding available to help with that.
You're rarely turning a family away because they can't afford it.
Rarely. I would almost say never, but never is a big word, so.
And I want to add, the state has increased the amount of subsidy per family rather significantly. So there's probably a lot of folks out there that don't realize they qualify for help with childcare.
So it's mainly the infrastructure you need help with right now.
Yes. The building itself, right.
Got it.
And then we will work with all these entities to make sure that it gets funded, that we find the staffing for it. The Department of Social Services, like Holly just said, they've increased the qualifications, so, the amount of money that you make, it's no longer, a family of 5 making $10,000 qualifies. It's much more than that, so.
I just want to say thank Mary Jo and Phil for the wonderful tour of the facility up there. I didn't realize until I came up and I knew y'all had the upper facility, but the programs and the upgrades on the property and the facilities or whatever, I didn't realize that much has gone on up there in the back part of the facility. So it's a great thing that y'all doing. Glad y'all moving forward on stuff like that. And like I said, anything to help the community, like you said, you've been part of the community for many, many years. And thank everybody for all they spoke tonight, and Mike for speaking and stuff like that, and thank y'all for everything. So hopefully we can do what we can to help.
Awesome.
I did not make the tour. I haven't been there to get the tour yet, but I feel like I know what you got going on because my brother talks about it all the time. But you made a remark that I think you spot on. By the time you finish this building, you're going to be needing another. We definitely need some quality childcare. And not only that, there's no doubt in my mind that you will succeed because y'all done some wonderful things up there in the time that you have been there. I was amazed to see chickens.
We got some chickens.
I couldn't believe that's where the chickens come from. But anyway, there's no doubt in my mind that you're going to get this done. You have a wonderful team there. They all seem very dedicated. A lot of these steps is very, very interesting. And I just know that as soon as you get this building up, you're going to already be figuring out how can we add on. Because they're coming. Now, the programs that you have in school, they won't be affected by it once you get this. They'll still be.
Your brother will still have a job with us.
That's
He's
good.
never leaving.
That's a good thing.
He's been with us a long time. We
But
love
this,
him.
I mean, with the programs that you do in school, that's going to still remain the
Yes,
same?
that's school age. That's school age. This is a whole new ball of wax, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, whole new program.
I'd like to make a few comments. Both of these projects are hugely, I believe, important to this community. I mean, I'm just flabbergasted by those numbers you all gave us tonight on the statistics on the level of readiness these young kids are for kindergarten. It's sad. It's really sad. And we have got to step up. Everybody in this community, in this county, from businesses to individuals to this council. I know this council in the past has supported both the National D-Day Memorial and the Bedford Ymca in previous capital campaigns. And I'm hoping we'll take a serious look on how we can do that again as a council as we start planning into our budget process, because these are needs that we have got to meet. We just got to. And it's a long ways. It's a big challenge. But if we don't start, we'll never get there. And so I'm hopeful we can all come together on that and figure out a way that we as a community and a council can help y'all, both of you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Can I interject something there on top of that?
Certainly.
I wasn't, what you were saying, I've been thinking that, and you've heard me say before that Bedford is just going to bust wide open at the sea. And I really think that that's where we're headed. I think Bedford is on a good track to do some things. Things are going to start happening here. You guys are doing a great job getting prepared for the overflow. And I hope that in some way we can help. But like the mayor said, we're going to have to come to a point where we all going to be able to sit down and say, this is where we at, this is what we need, and vice versa. But Bedford is growing. Whether you pay any attention or not, Bedford is growing, and people are going to be coming here. It's going to be there to go. They want to go to Bedford. And then people want to stay in Bedford. I was talking to a gentleman that has moved here. He hasn't retired yet, but he's already moved here, bought land and bought a home, but they're moving. But they're going to need child care when they come. And the quality of our schools. You know, D-Day is gonna bring people in, you know, you're gonna bring people, all we wanna do is harness them when they get here. Because, oh, wait a minute, we know you love D-Day, but this a little bit more to Bedford than D-Day. Come on and see Bedford. And it's gonna happen. And we all have to come together to get it done.
For sure.
We really do.
For sure.
Thank you, Mayor.
You bet.
Thank you.
Mary Jo.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming tonight, telling us about your exciting plans. We appreciate it. Next, we need a motion, I'm gonna put both these in one motion. Motion to go into closed session pursuant to section 2.23711A3 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended for the acquisition or disposition of publicly held real property, where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position for property at 305 East Main Street. And then the second one is a closed session pursuant to section 2.2-3711A5 of the Code of Virginia of 1950 as amended for discussion concerning a prospective industry where no previous announcement has been made. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Johansson?
Aye.
Mr. Sherwin?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mr. Carson?
All right?
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Hartwick?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
So we need probably Mary
You can
Go ahead.
Be quick.
Is Woody ready? All right.
Be it resolved that the council of the town of Bedford hereby certifies that one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the council.
So moved.
Second.
Who was second?
Bob.
Bob.
Okay.
Roll call.
Mr. Showen?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mr. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Hartwick?
Aye.
Mr. Johansson?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
All right, we're adjourned.
All right.
So, if you need